Okay, so when I say the words Old Testament prophet, what's the first image that pops into your head? For a lot of us, well, it's a pretty specific and maybe even an intimidating picture.
Right? Do you picture some wild-eyed guy out in the desert, maybe wearing some rough clothes, yelling at people, pointing a bony finger of judgment at everyone who walks by? Maybe you just think of someone who's just angry all the time. Or maybe their whole job was just predicting the super distant future, kind of like an ancient fortune teller with a crystal ball. But what if those stereotypes are just a tiny, tiny piece of a much bigger, more fascinating story?
All right, let's tackle that first big idea. The one that says the prophets were basically just messengers for a God who was permanently furious. And, to be fair, there's some truth to this. You can't really read the prophets and miss the really intense images of judgment. They did not pull any punches when it came to warning the people. I mean, just listen to this line from Jeremiah. Death is climbing through our windows. Whoa, that is some seriously jarring imagery. So yeah, the prophets were absolutely serious about conveying God's anger over things like injustice and rebellion. But here's the thing. If we stop there, we miss the other side of the message, which is just as extreme. It's like listening to a song and only hearing the booming bass line, completely missing the beautiful melody playing on top. Scholar Brent Sandy puts it perfectly. He says the prophets present both God's anger and his love at their absolute extremes. It creates this powerful, dramatic tension. On one side, you've got this fierce anger, and on the other, an everlasting love. And this quote shows that contrast so brilliantly. And get this, it's from the exact same book, from the same prophet, Jeremiah. In the middle of all those dire warnings, God says this, I have loved you with an everlasting love. And here's another incredible image for you, this time from the prophet Isaiah. The people are feeling forgotten, abandoned, and God's response is basically, are you kidding me? I have a tattoo of you on my hands. It's this beautiful, permanent picture of a constant, affectionate reminder. He literally can't look at his own hands without thinking of them. He can't forget them.
Okay, so let's shift gears and tackle that other big myth, the idea that the prophets were mainly just fortune tellers.
Now, they definitely did predict future events, and when they did, they had to be 100% accurate, by the way. But that wasn't really their main job. Their primary role was something called forthtelling, not foretelling. They were speaking God's word to the people in their own time about what was happening right then and there. Now, check out this slide, because this is where the data gets really surprising. According to scholars Fee and Stewart, if you break down all the prophetic writings, less than 5% is about the New Covenant era, and less than 2% is specifically about the Messiah. But this is the number that just stops you in your tracks. Less than 1% of all Old Testament prophecy is about events that are still in our future. Just let that sink in for a second. The huge, overwhelming majority of what they said was not about us. So the obvious question is, if their focus wasn't thousands of years down the road, what was it? What was so important that it took up more than 95% of their message? And this, right here, brings us to the very heart of why the prophets are so powerful. Their message is timeless because it digs into the core issues of what it means to be human, issues that are just as real for us today as they were thousands of years ago. As you sift through their writings, you start to see three huge life issues pop up again and again and again. We're talking about idolatry, social injustice, and false worship. So let's break them down. First up, idolatry. Now, back then, this was pretty literal. It meant bowing down to actual statues of gods like Baal. For us, it's a bit more subtle. An idol is anything at all that we trust in to give us a sense of worth and security instead of God. Things like money, career success, or our possessions. Jeremiah uses this amazing metaphor for it. He says the people have traded a fresh, bubbling fountain of living water for these broken down, leaky cisterns. They've chosen things that look like they can hold what we need to survive, but they're full of cracks, they can't hold water, and they will always, always leave us thirsty. Okay, number 2 is a big one, social injustice. The prophets were absolutely furious about the way the poor, the widows, and the orphans were being exploited. Their message was just a blistering critique of a society where the rich and powerful were getting richer at the expense of the most vulnerable. And if you want a really shocking image, check this one out from the prophet Micah. He accuses the leaders of acting like cannibals, who literally chop up their people in a pot and cook them. Now, of course, he's not saying they were actually eating them, but by exploiting them financially, they were stealing their very livelihood. They were essentially devouring their lives. And finally, there's false worship. And listen, this was not about worship style. This wasn't a debate about hymns versus contemporary music. The real problem was this huge, gaping disconnect between the religious rituals they did on the Sabbath and the totally unethical way they lived their lives the other 6 days of the week. So you see, when you put it all together, you realize the prophets were way less concerned with giving us a detailed roadmap of the distant future and way more concerned with holding up a giant mirror to the people's present reality. They were asking the tough questions. Who or what do you really worship? How are you treating the most vulnerable people in your society? And does the life you live actually match the songs you sing? And all of this leaves us with a pretty challenging question, doesn't it? If one of these ancient prophets showed up today, right now, and took a hard look at our world, at our society, our priorities, our lives, what broken cisterns would they point to? What injustices would make them burn with anger? What would they have to say to us?